I'm fascinated with that phrase in the epistle today, that Jesus Christ abolished death and brought life and immortality to light. He brought life and immortality to light. Light. Light is such a mysterious thing to us human beings, isn't it? Now, do you realize that on the spectrum of light might be this big, okay? Only 0.003% is seen by the human eye. That means if we had eyes to see all of light, it would be just like that. But we only see just a little sliver of light. Most light is invisible to us. Wow. That's fascinating, isn't it? And another thing, all that we see in the material world is nothing but star dust. It all originated from light. Wow. The great accomplishment of modern man, of course, is nuclear and atomic power. And what is it? It's just bringing matter back to light. Of course, what do we do with it? We created weapons with it. And Oppenheimer said, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. In the face of this, God's great accomplishment is the opposite. He is bringing life and immortality to light so we can see it. That's what the Mount of Transfiguration is all about. But before we get to the Mount of Transfiguration, we have to see that there are other mountaintop experiences throughout the whole Bible. It begins with Eden. We all know that Eden is a mountain. How do we know this? Well, because the river of life flowed out of it, and we know that water runs downhill, right? Eden was the mountain of God. And in Eden, there's a garden. Okay? And there God placed us. And we all know that in the garden, clothes were not needed. Why not? Because before the fall, we were all light. The glory of light. Wow. But when we separate ourselves from God, we separate ourselves from life. We separate ourselves from light. And we became darkness. We had to cover ourselves. Now, the interesting thing about this, though, is that the body still has life, and to the degree that the body still has life, it still has light. Did you know, I just found this out, that at the very instant of conception, there's a flash of light. Isn't that the most amazing thing? A flash of light. And I learned a new term. Maybe you know this, but did you know that you are bioluminescent? Yes, we are bioluminescent. What does that mean? That our bodies really have light. The problem is our eyes cannot see it because it's so dim and our life is so dim. You have to have instruments now to be able to see it. You know, our great human angst is this: the loss of light and life. We all suffer from what we might call light disorder, depression. Do you know what I'm talking about? I kind of get it when October, November comes around, because I know we're heading into darkness, right? But this time of the year, look at this, the light's starting to come. You start to cheer up a little bit. You know something? The whole human race, since the fall, is suffering from light disorder, depression. But in the face of this, what does our epistle say? In Jesus Christ, he's abolished death. And he's brought life and immortality to light. Now, the second mountain that I want to talk to you about is Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai. Now, Mount Sinai, in a way, symbolizes Eden, the Mount of God. God called Moses up there, and in time, he called 70 of the elders up to experience God at a feast. Okay? But in Exodus 34, we see that Moses went up to talk with God. And we all know what happened to his face, don't we? Yeah, let me read this because it is so fascinating. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the covenant in his hand as he came down from the mountain, Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone because he had been talking with God. And when Aaron and all the sons of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. But Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the leaders of the congregation returned to him, and Moses talked with them. And afterward, all the sons of Israel came near, and he gave them a commandment, all that the Lord had spoken with him on Mount Sinai. And when Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But whenever Moses went in before the Lord to speak with him, he took the veil off until he came out. And when he came out and told the sons of Israel what he was commanded, the sons of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone. And Moses would put the veil upon his face again until he went to speak with them. Can you imagine that? How did Israel respond to Moses when he came off the mountain? They scattered. They said, I'm out of here. They're terrified because they saw his face glowing. Whoa. But that was natural in a sense. That's the way we were to be. That's the way we're made. This is where God wants to bring us. Now, the next mountain I want to talk to you about is the Mount of Transfiguration. Now, when you think about this experience today in our reading, the Mount of Transfiguration is one of those episodes in the gospel that really stand out, like the baptism of Jesus, right? And then at the end, you have the crucifixion, resurrection. But right in the middle of this, you have the Transfiguration. Matter of fact, the Gospel of Mark purposely puts the Transfiguration right dead center into the book. If you count the words all up, it comes to right the point where God the Father says to Jesus, this is my beloved Son. Very purposeful. The Transfiguration is central. Now why? Why is this? Well, the answer is given to us in the verse before, in chapter 16, verse 28. Truly I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming into his kingdom. What this was a revelation of the kingdom. It was a revelation of what everyone is going to look like. We're going to glow with supernatural light. Now, we see that Moses and Elijah were there. Now, why Moses and Elijah? Well, we already know why Moses, because he was already on the mountain. We talked about that, right? But Elijah is another mountain man. He's on Mount Carmel. He called down fire from heaven on the sacrifice. You know this story. But it's especially interesting is this. When Elijah was going to be taken up in the chariot of fire, he was talking with Elisha, and Elisha says, give me twice your powers. That's what I want. And Elijah said, that's a lot to ask. But if you see me, if you see the light, if you see the fire of the chariot swooping down and picking me up, then your request will be given to you. And you know something? Elisha saw it. The other prophets didn't see it, but he saw it. It was revealed to him. So they were mountain men. Another question is, why is Peter and James and John, why is it that they saw this? Why were they so close to Jesus? Well, I'm not sure if I have the answer for that, but I know one thing. They desired to be near Jesus. They wanted to be close to life and immortality. They sensed the light in Jesus with their interior. They wanted to be close to him, and that's why it was granted for them to see it. The closer we draw near to Jesus, the more he brings life and immortality to light, the more glory becomes ours. Light is everything. Don't you get sad sometimes after having a nice day out in the sun, when the sunset happens and the day wanes? I do sometimes, I have to admit it. But lately I begin to realize that, you know something? That's just created light. What God is revealing to me is uncreated light. Do you know that there is a whole universe of uncreated light that's just underneath this world of created light? Yes, it is true. And our souls can see it sometimes through our physical eyes. Let me close with it. My earliest memory, it's a dream. I think it was a deaf dream, now that I think about it. I was running across this field, and there was a big hedgerow. It was very dark and thick, and I was running toward it. And as I got closer, I saw that there was an opening in it. And I remember going through it, and it was scary, because it was scary going through the darkness. But once I got through, I got on the other side, there was light. And down this path, my grandmother was walking toward me. And you know something? At that instant, in my 4-year-old soul, I knew one thing. I didn't hear it in words, but I knew it. This was the message God gave to me. It's going to be all right. Life is going to be all right. And I've carried that in my heart all my life. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Do you understand seeing uncreated light in your interior? There's a glow. And you may not feel emotionally, but there's awareness of it's there. That's God living within us. Let us draw near to Jesus, who abolished death and brought life and immortality to light.